Hey guys, welcome back to the 2004 ROH short DVD reviews. The next show is actually Round Robin Challenge 3. This is really not a good show. This is by far the worst Round Robin Challenge. For this edition, they actually did a tag team Round Robin Challenge. So we had the Briscoes, CM Punk and Colt Cabana, and BJ Whitmer and Dan Maff. So those were the tag teams. They had 3 matches. Now, the interesting thing about this was the tag team titles were on the line for every match. So that was pretty cool. So Dan Maff and Whitmer actually won the belts, and then they lost it to the Briscoes, and then the Briscoes actually ended up dropping it back to CM Punk and Colt Cabana in the main event. So it was cool to see the title changes. The only good match from the Round Robin Challenge was the main event, the Briscoes versus CM Punk and Colt Cabana. That was a pretty good match. But besides that, the rest of the show was pretty weak. Homicide and Spanky had a decent match. But other than that, everything else was pretty mediocre. Samoa Joe and Ricky Reyes just had one. That was one of Samoa Joe's worst matches of 2004. Matt Stryker and Alex Shelley had an okay match, but you could definitely skip this show. All right, so next up we get Generation Next, and for my money, I'd say this is probably the best show of 2004. Maybe not the best as far as wrestling goes, but because of its historical importance, and it's just a really fun show, and there are some really good matches on it. So definitely in the top 3 shows of the year. You know, this is where Generation Next formed. For those that don't know, Generation Next was pretty much, one of the Ring of Honor's biggest stables ever. It was Alex Shelley was actually the leader, and it had Austin Aries, Jack Evans, and Roderick Strong. I thought they made an awesome stable, and they basically hijacked the show. They basically they took it over. They beat the crap out of everyone that was in the ring, and then eventually they had a tag match, an excellent tag match, one of the best matches of 2004, which was Generation Next versus John Walters, Jimmy Rave, and the Briscoes. This went about 45 minutes, and it's not really that fast-paced. It's pretty methodical, but the storytelling is excellent here. Great wrestling, just an excellent tag match. So that match stole the show. Samoa Joe and Homicide had a match for the world title. That was really good. That was probably the most underrated Joe Homicide match. And there's some other decent stuff on here. Generation Next participate in a lot of matches. They pretty much, the first half hour, 45 minutes of the show is all Generation Next matches as well. So this is an excellent show. The next show is World Title Classic. Obviously, this is the first CM Punk Samoa Joe match for the ROH title. And this was an excellent match. It went to a 60-minute draw. CM Punk's strategy was to slow Joe down. Whenever Joe was trying to build some offense, he would slow him down, because Joe never really worked the match over 15 minutes in Ring of Honor. So that was Punk's strategy, just to apply the headlock whenever Joe would start to build some momentum. So the match came off really well. It got a Match of the Year chant. People were chanting 5 more minutes, and it was really an excellent match. Not as good as the second one, probably not as good as the third one, but this is what really started off the Joe Punk trilogy, and it's definitely this is a must-have for any Ring of Honor fan because of that match. The other great match in here is Alex Shelley, Roderick Strong, and Austin Aries versus Matt Stryker, Jimmy Rave, and John Walters. This is just an excellent 6-man tag match. Generation Next is just out of control, and this is actually where Todd Sinclair got all his heat from. The Ring of Honor fans hate Todd Sinclair because it all started on this match, because he just couldn't control Generation Next. So the fans started booing, and then supposedly it picked up after this match. Everywhere they went, Todd Sinclair, the referee, would actually get a lot of heat from the crowd. So this is where it all started. The rest of the show is pretty forgettable. Everything else pretty much sucked. The main event was okay. It was an Ultimate Endurance match featuring the 4 tag teams, but it was just too long. So basically, we have a 2-match show here. Next up, we get Survival of the Fittest. Survival of the Fittest is awesome. It's a must-have show, one of the top 5 shows of the year, probably. By far the best Survival of the Fittest match. This is where it featured Mark Briscoe, Colt Cabana, Austin Aries, Homicide, Bryan Danielson, and Samoa Joe. Eventually, it came down to Aries and Danielson, and they just tore it up for like the last 20 minutes of the match. It was crazy. Danielson actually busted up Aries with the uppercut, so Aries is actually bleeding from his chin because he was so busted open. Excellent match. I give this 5 stars, the Survival of the Fittest match. So probably the match of the year from 2004, not involving Samoa Joe or CM Punk. So Other good stuff in here as well. CM Punk and Jay Lethal had an excellent match. Kind of reminded me of Kurt Angle versus Jay Lethal a little bit. Not as good, but kind of the same story was going on there. The qualifying matches, Bryan Danielson and Jack Evans, that was probably the best qualifier. Mark Briscoe versus Shelley was good. Homicide versus Jay Briscoe was good. So, yeah, this is an excellent show. Next up, we get Reborn Completion. Wow, I mean, I have mixed feelings on this show. This show was really boring. It was really hard to sit through. However, there is a lot of good stuff on here. You get CM Punk's face turn. There's a CM Punk Ricky Steamboat confrontation. Generation Next came out, and Punk actually decided to not turn on Generation Next, but side with Steamboat and help beat down Generation Next from saving. So he's basically saved Ricky Steamboat. So CM Punk turned face. Pretty big storyline there. And Low Key actually turned heel in the main event. The main event was the Rottweilers versus Samoa Joe and the Briscoes. And Low Key actually looked like he was going to side with Joe, but at the last second he took the ROH World title and hit Joe with it and said, if anyone's going to disrespect this title, it's me. So Low Key officially turned heel. A really awesome moment when Low Key actually returned for this show. So when Low Key came out, the crowd was going crazy. And Jimmy Rave actually turned heel as well. He joined the Embassy. So this is where he joined the Embassy. The Pure title was actually brought back. AJ Styles actually was forced out of the company because TNA pulled all their talent. So they had this is the show where they brought back the Pure title. And the Pure title finals was actually Alex Shelley versus Doug Williams in an excellent match for the Pure title. That was a good match. But, to tell you the truth, a lot of these matches on the undercard were just really boring. I thought the show was just a little bit too long. It's a really tough show to sit through, but it does have a lot of good stuff on it, like a lot of good storyline stuff. So I will give it a good score because of that. Next up, we get Death Before Dishonor 2, Part 1. The Death Before Dishonor shows are awesome, probably the best shows of the year. So Death Before Dishonor 2, Part 1, we get a rematch. Doug Williams and Alex Shelley, another excellent match from them. Rocky Romero and Low Key faced Dan Maff and BJ Whitmer. That was an excellent tag match. These cards are just pretty much stacked. There was not a lot of filler on these. Samoa Joe and Homicide had their best match. I think this is their best match, probably. Maybe even better than the Do or Die match. You've probably seen this match on the Ring of Honor's Greatest Rivalries DVD. So, yeah, this is an awesome match. Joe versus Homicide. And then the main event is the match of the night. We got CM Punk and Colt Cabana versus the Briscoes. 2 out of 3 falls. It's really long, but there's a lot of great stuff in here. Great action, tremendous tag match. Alright, so next up we get Death Before Dishonor 2, Part 2. I'm going to say this is the best show of 2004. Even better than Part 1. This show is just stacked with a lot of great stuff. Rocky Romero and Chad Collier. I thought this was probably the opener of the year. The best opening ROH match. Alex Shelley and Jimmy Jacobs had a solid match. What else happened here? Doug Williams and Austin Aries for the Pure title. Kind of disappointing. That kind of under-delivered to me. I thought that would be better. Low Key and Mark Briscoe had a good match, and Homicide and Jay Briscoe had a good match. So we had 2 good singles matches there, probably 3.5 stars for both of those matches. Samoa Joe defended the title against Colt Cabana. Excellent match. Wasn't amazing, but it was really solid. Colt Cabana actually stated that he felt like he was in a real life fight because Joe dished it out to him so hard in this match. So that was a pretty stiff match. CM Punk and Ace Steel faced Dan Maff and BJ Whitmer. A lot of people know about this, the Chicago Street Fight. Brutal match. One of the best hardcore matches Ring of Honor's ever done. And a great blow-off to the Second City Saints Prophecy feud. Definitely one of the best feuds in ROH history. Arguably. Next up, we get Testing the Limit. An excellent match here. We get a Match of the Year candidate. Bryan Danielson versus Austin Aries. Your definition of a one-match show. This match went 76 minutes. 2 out of 3 falls. Awesome. I say this is just as good as the Paul London Bryan Danielson Epic Encounter match. A lot of people prefer the Epic Encounter, but I actually probably prefer this one. A lot of people bitch about it because it went too long, but these 2 guys just went through hell in this match. I mean, imagine wrestling 76 minutes. That's a lot of wrestling, and these 2 guys, really a great storytelling here. I thought it was awesome. Both guys just went through hell, so yeah, excellent match here. What else was there on this show? CM Punk and Colt Cabana lost the tag team titles to Ricky Reyes and Rocky Romero. A very disappointing match. Not really a good match. Low Key and Samoa Joe had a huge brawl with the Briscoes. That was just crazy. They brawled out into the parking lot. Roderick Strong versus Izzy, probably the second best match on the show, so that was okay, but other than that, everything else is disappointing. Production values were awful on this show, just terrible. Next up, we get Scramble Cage Melee. This was decent. It wasn't as bad as people say it is. A lot of people think this is the worst show of the year. The Samoa Joe Homicide CM Punk three-way match is really good. It's kind of disappointing considering who's involved, but it's a non-title match. Homicide actually ended up pinning Joe here, but it was not a title. A very decent match. Doug Williams and John Walters had a good pure title match. That was good, but everything else was pretty mediocre. It's a pretty boring show. The main event is just a spot fest scramble cage match. Really dangerous stuff, but it just came off really sloppy. And would not really recommend this show, but there are some decent stuff on here. So that's it for this edition of the ROH 2004 DVD reviews. Thanks for watching.